Hey everybody, good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to Call the Cops. My name is Officer Jamie Keneally. As always, big show in store. One of my favorite guests, all my guests are favorite, but I think I mean it more so tonight. But we are talking about trailblazers tonight. Trailblazers, if you will. I get history makers, if you will. But in the case of Irish Americans, the name Barney McGinniskin, as in Bernard Barney McGinniskin, should mean something because, as the sign says there, he's the first Irish police officer, Irish-born Boston police officer, appointed in 1851. And tonight we've got my good friend Robert Bobby Anthony. He's the department chronologist. He was at this lovely event which took place, was it Friday night?
That was Monday night.
Monday night, Commissioner Davis presiding, and again, it was all about talking about and remembering and honoring Boston, the first Irish-born Boston police officer, Barney McGinniskin, in addition to the commissioner, former superintendent-in-chief, Chief Faherty, a great guy, well-respected man, to say the least. Also on hand to offer some comments. Great time, by the way, by the chief. Chief said he was there because he knew Barney McGinniskin. He worked with Barney McGinniskin.
He came on the job with him.
Yeah, right, which we know not to be the case. But the unveiling of the commemorative coin, Bobby, you've done a lot of this stuff. This is a great keepsake for the event. And so the unveiling of the coin, a great time had by all. Again, in honor of Barney McGinniskin tonight, Bobby Anthony, department chronologist in the house. And we're going to talk all about him because this is history, everybody. And we like to take the time to discuss it. All right, other quick stuff we want to get to. This was the scene at South Station. Recently, actually this past week, law enforcement officials gathering together to remind people about the importance of seeing something and saying something. I know you're probably familiar with the slogan, if you see something, say something. It's all about public safety via the public being aware. Here's what Commissioner Davis had to say about the awareness campaign.
We're here to tell you that other countries take this seriously. When a piece of luggage is left unattended, people get notified immediately. We're not that good here. We still feel somewhat insulated in spite of what happened on 9/11. It's our responsibility, myself and our other officers who are over here in uniform and in plain clothes, to make it clear that this is a real threat, that we need to be paying attention to it, and we need to do better. We'll take the calls. Call us, tell us. We'd rather check something out than to have something happen.
But we know that government money by itself, or government activity by itself, it is not solely the answer. That's why we want the public to be our partner. And that's why the See Something, Say Something campaign, Amtrak now is using it. They deployed it last spring. It is spreading across the country like wildfire. It was already here in Boston. Now, of course, it's going to be here in an even bigger way.
That was Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano. Okay, when it comes to unbelievable community events, and I can't stress that enough, unbelievable community events. What took place St. Patrick's Day on the streets of West Roxbury, about as good as it gets. I can't stress that enough. We're talking about the Shamrock Shootout Street Hockey Tournament. I believe this is the 4th or 5th year. And yeah, cool t-shirts, to say the least. The Shamrock Shootout. This thing was unbelievable. You had over, according to the numbers, 400 kids, 375 hockey sticks, free hockey sticks. Every kid, as I understand it, got a free t-shirt, hockey stick, lunch. Every kid got a slice of pizza and a drink. In this event, again, I can't say enough about it. I got a chance to go by and check it out. You want to talk about a great time. This was that and then some. And if you were looking to see 400 smiling faces, well, they were certainly on full display on the streets of West Roxbury St. Patrick's Day. Take a listen to Mike O'Brien, attorney co-founder.
What makes it so special, it's a great community event. We have over 80 volunteers, 400 kids, and it's free for all the kids, thanks to our sponsors, many generous sponsors, city councilors, state reps, all the stores, the banks, the pizza stores. You know, we basically provide everybody with a free stick, a free shirt, pizza, entertainment, and it's just a great community day because that's, you know.
Because it was awesome. Every kid there having a blast. All right, pipes and drums. Anytime you see the Gaelic column, you know there must be something special going on. There certainly was something special going on at the IBEW Hall in Dorchester. Promotional ceremony, and the mayor, Mayor Menino, on hand, as well as Commissioner Davis, Chief Linsky, again, all on hand to congratulate and promote. That family looks familiar to me. It looks like the family of a good friend of mine. But as I said, Commissioner Davis on hand to congratulate and promote our new promotees. Congratulations, certainly in order, for Deputy Superintendents. Deputy Superintendents Cullum Lydon, Deputy Superintendent Stevie Whitman, Deputy Superintendent Kelly Nee, and Deputy Superintendent Randy Halstead, all, as you can see, taking part of a very special day, because I tell you what, Deputy Superintendent is a heck of a position to get, and congratulations to those who got it. And that was the scene again at the IBEW Hall over in Dorchester. That was this past Friday. All right, we're talking Bernard Barney McGinniskin, first Irish-born police officer appointed November 3rd, 1851. Bobby Anthony. Let's introduce Bobby if we can, David. Sir?
How you doing, Jamie?
You look mighty familiar to me. You've been here before.
A few times.
All right. You are the department chronologist. It's a pretty fancy title for a guy like yourself. Let's let the viewing audience know what we mean. What does it mean that you are, what does that title mean, department chronologist?
Well, a chronologist is basically a storyteller. I tell the story of the history of the department and try to unlock some of the secrets
Okay.
that have been hidden for a few years.
For years. Storyteller.
Storyteller.
How appropriate. Buddy, but all kidding aside, you've done some phenomenal work, from Ezekiel Hodson to Sergeant Halloran. Is it Halloran or Halloran?
Halloran.
Halloran. Horatio Homer.
Homer.
Had you on for that. And this is the history of the first Irish-born police officer,
Correct.
Barney McGinniskin.
It's also the first in the nation.
First in the nation. So let me ask you the obvious question. How do you know that?
How do I know that?
Yeah.
Research.
I mean, I know you're the chronologist, and I mean all that, but I mean, so, okay, research.
Research. You go back into records, historical records, newspapers, and you research, go back and just dig up what you can dig.
Yeah,
And find out the information. And, you know, there's history. I have papers in front of me from the Pilot from 1851,
Pilot was the newspaper at the time?
the Catholic paper. That's
Okay.
correct.
And which is still around today,
Correct.
right? So was there a Globe around back then?
I don't know if in 1851 there was a Globe around.
I got some good stats about 1851, speaking of the year. And Millard Fillmore, can't even say his name, U.S. President Millard Fillmore, okay, 1851. Moby Dick, published in 1851. Pretty good. See, I'm playing your game now. I could be the assistant
doing a lot of
chronologist.
history.
New York Times was published, 2 cents a paper, and the first YMCA popped up in Boston. I'm just trying to set the stage for you folks at home. And then in all this, along comes Barney McGinniskin.
That's why you were a sports anchor.
Is information about this guy, about Barney, is it easy to come by, tough to come by?
A lot of it is very easy to come by. There have been books written on Barney. Mr. Stevens, Peter Stevens wrote a book, The Hidden Histories of the Irish.
Yeah.
In 2008, he wrote an article, and he wrote a book, and there's a whole chapter on Barney.
Okay.
And you get information from that. Affairs of the city, like I said, from the papers, newspapers. I have clippings on that talk about Barney was removed. He was removed twice from the police force. The first time, Seaver, which was the mayor, had superseded the order and reinstated him. And then when he got terminated 3 years later, in 1854, there was no way to get him back.
So he's the first. His time in the department is short. Hired in 1851. He's fired 3 years later?
Well, he was fired first about a year later.
Okay.
And there was an uproar, I guess, that they were trying to put Seaver in the position of mayor. And Seaver, after the city marshal at the time, who was basically the police commissioner, but the title was marshal, he tried to get rid of McGinniskin because he didn't like Irish.
Yeah.
And they started a whole petition drive to try to get him out of there.
We're just showing you some video footage of the event held recently at the Mount Washington Bank over on East Broadway in south of Boston, honoring off the first Irish-born police officer, Bernard Barney McGinniskin. So how about we talk about the climate, though? 1851, are the Irish just hated across the board? You're Irish, I hate you, it's that simple?
Well, you got to remember that the Irish, coming over from Ireland in the early, Bonnie came over. There was a lot of prejudices that befell them when they came over. For 379 years, there was the Boston Watch and Ward, and the Boston Police Department has policed the city. On October 6th of 1851, the Board of Aldermen, which the petitioned with aldermen in regards to Mayor Bigelow, petitioned on Officer Bonnie McGinskin to get him appointed to the
So
Boston
how
Police
old is he
Department.
when this happens?
He was 42 years old.
So he's 42 years old, and does Barney say, you know what, I want to be a police officer? Or does somebody say, because as I understand it too, the city population at that time was about 140,000.
Correct.
Of that 140,000, more than a third are Irish, right off the boat Irish.
Correct.
So it seems like it would make sense that why not make an Irishman a police officer? But did somebody say, we want you to be a police officer? Or did he say, man, I've always wanted to be a police officer? Do we know that, or am I asking a question we have no answer to?
Well, checking out the history and stuff, then Bonnie came over from Ireland in 1829.
Okay.
And he was in the city for quite a while, and he was driving what they called a cab at the time, which was a horse-driven vehicle. He also worked in a grain factory and lugging around stuff. And the people that were very influenced in those days wanted to see Bonnie become a police officer.
Because he was well liked? Because
He was liked within the people that he worked for.
Yeah.
And he was also, they looked at it as a point that, let's get an Irishman on board.
Yeah, it would make sense. I mean, given the breakdown of the population, why wouldn't you want somebody? I mean, it's like community policing, but
And you got to remember, in those days, they were making, the police officers were making $2 a day.
I was going to bring that up too,
And,
which is unbelievable.
And a laborer was probably making maybe $1.25, $1.30. So the job was considered a pretty privileged job. It was an elite job at that time. In those early days, there weren't that many police officers on the job. There were only 86 men on the police department when Bonnie came on in 1851.
Okay. Interesting. So of the 86 officers, there's only one Irishman,
correct.
and he didn't, as we said before, he didn't last long. What was? I mean, okay, Irish people coming off the boat. You have the potato famine. So Irish, coming into Boston Harbor, and nobody here is happy to see them arrive.
Correct.
He becomes a police officer. You said he got fired once, fired a second time. Were the people, I mean, I know there's some political ramifications here, the Know Nothing Party, anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant. Do they finally, is it that movement that gets him?
That movement did, it was the anti-immigrant, anti-Irish, Catholic, no-name party that petitioned and got Bonnie tossed from the force for the first time.
Okay.
The second time, I should say.
Yep.
And he was not able to retain his seat there. It was funny because they were worried about Bonnie coming on the job, saying that how would this officer police the Irish
Right,
when
they were
most of them
afraid
were arrested.
that he would allow them to run,
But-
amok, or just do whatever,
Bonnie's first arrest was an Irishman named Michael Larrity, and he was caught for stealing an overcoat.
Interesting. That's some good history right there.